All right, you maggots, listen up. Now, I was just thinking about the guy a few times. I blocked him out. I block out people that leave nasty comments. Like they'll say, all you do is complain. Well, my videos are to show you what can go wrong with something or a problem I'm having. In this case, you're looking at Quikrete play sand. It's been washed. In the bag, there's a lot of dust in with it. And I got it in there. I put a plate. I filled it up, filled the tank up. The water was crystal clear. I put the filter on last night, and I went to bed and expecting the tank. And the tank is clearer this morning, but I got a giant gully. As the water overflows out of the filter, it hits the sand and it moves it. Now, there's all different grades of sand, and I know all about that, but this was one of the grades that was recommended for a dirted tank. Now, just imagine if I had put the fertilizer in on the bottom of the tank and put the sand on top. What a mess I'd have right now. Or I had put dirt and put this sand over it. So I don't recommend the Sacrete play sand, even though some people are saying you can use it. They're shooting from the hip. They never bought this sand. Now, I want to tell you about sand. If you never worked with it, or I should say, you've probably worked with sand in your life, mixing cement, filling in holes, and you can do so many things with sand. You can level out, you can lift a sidewalk up that's sunk, you can lift one of the sections up, put sand under there, level it out, put the piece of sidewalk down. You might have put it under patio block, you leveled it out, you put your patio block down, then you put your sand in between the cracks of the patio block. That has nothing to do with working with sand when it's wet in an aquarium. It's a nightmare. It sticks to itself. It's like dough. And as I cleaned each batch of sand, I dumped the batch in the tank. And then I leveled it out and I put water in. I put the plate in and I filled it up. But then I realized that I had big air bubbles in between the sections of sand. And I didn't expect that. So I took a chopstick, which is in the frame there, and I broke the air bubbles, which made more, some of the dust go around in the water. But I figured that the filter will take that out. But I didn't realize the overflow of the filter would have enough power to move the sand. All right, that's something I'm learning. I'm passing that on to you. Now, this is very similar to a nightmare that one of my neighbors decided to put railroad ties, those Romanized pieces of wood in front of the house, and then he was going to put plants in it, like a planter, a giant planter, and he ordered a big shipment of stone, and his son had a big truck, and the truck rolls up the street, and we get on the back, and we have shovels, and then the first person that goes to put the shovel into the stone, it won't go. And we're trying all different kinds of shovels. Now, I think they might have used a plastic shovel. I don't know what they use at the nursery, but that was a new idea back when I first did it. So what I did was I got up there and I had the person lay the shovel down on the bed, and I would take another shovel and move the stone, which shifted into the shovel, and the person would then go dump it. And I spent a good hour up there doing that. But in other words, we never worked with stone before. Everybody, we've all worked with stone before, mixing cement, and I think it's called aggregate. But when you have to do a front of a house as landscaping, now you realize moving that much stone becomes a real pain in the ass. Well, wet sand works totally different than what you would expect. See, you watch television and you see people sculpting out a castle out of the sand, and it's 12 feet high, and you're like, why isn't that falling down? It never clicked in my head that you wet sand, it sticks to itself. See, you walk on the beach, and then you're out on the beach, and you have a pail and shovel, and you fill the pail up, and then you turn it over. You pat it down, turn it over, and you sort of make a castle, but it falls apart because you're at a part of the sand that's the grain is bigger, and it's not wet, or it's just slightly moist. Where if you go to another section and get the really fine sand, and it's wet, it sticks. It gets on everything. It gets on your fingers. It's almost like getting sugar all over you. My kitchen's a mess, and you don't want to rinse the play sand or any kind of sand in your kitchen. You don't want to wash it out under the faucet, because there's a certain amount of sand that floats in the water and stays floating for like 40, 50 seconds. And if you spill that into the sink as an overflow as you're washing it, that will then clog your sink. I'm warning you about that. That's what my videos, that's why guys just, all you do is complain. My videos are to warn you about things that nobody else tells you about. And I go back to when the idea come to me was with that Blade 70S, when I realized that in the instructions about setting the trims, and realizing that the trims they're not centered, and that everybody trying to fly the model, it's ready to fly out of the box after you set the trims. So I said, you know what, if this happened to me, I'll do a video. So I did a video, and you got the shoot from the hip guys, oh, everybody knows that. Well, they obviously didn't. People still thank me for that video. So anyway, I just wanted to warn you about sand. Luckily, I didn't have this dirted. I didn't have my fertilizer capsules in there when I powered up the filter last night. But I'm still thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to take the sand out? Do I want to start over? Do I want to just change the filter to a sponge filter with air? I don't know if they even sell that anymore. It's amazing. Or build a diverter for the filter. I have PVC plastic. I'm already thinking of a clamp that goes on the lip of the filter, and then as the water comes off, it'll divert it or something. There's got to be a way to fix this. Maybe even a piece now. Anyway, I have to build some type of a deflector diverter for the filter. Now maybe if I go looking, I'll find somebody that had the same problem and how they solved it. But there's so many people that shoot from the hip. They see a dirty tank being done, they memorize the steps, and then they go give information on people so they can have more conference messages. They can break the record. Oh, I have 10,000 messages. They're garbage messages, but that's what I ran into. I was finding information from people. That one guy said that the sand will get up into the filter. No, it doesn't. So there's a lot of bad information. It's a steep learning curve. I've had fish tanks since I'm 8 years old, but I said, let me go with sand and have the fertilizer in the sand, and nothing will be able to get down in through the sand, and I'll get 5 years out of the tank. Well, at this point, it hasn't been worth the extra effort, and we still don't know if I'm going to get the 5 years. See, I could have had gravel in here by now. I could have had the fertilizer in there. I could have had the plants planted, the top back on, and I could have been done. But my friend Jim says it seemed like a good idea at the time. It does. Anytime you want to go in a new direction and try something new, you say, let me try this. Let me try that. That's how I am. I'm not I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that type of guy that never does anything. I keep trying different things. And when it goes wrong, I report back. And that's why, all you do is complain. Well, here it is. I got play sand in there, and I have some asterisks next to using play sand. How powerful is your overflow, your filter? Is it going to go down and cause a big gully in your substrate? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is this is very fine sand. It doesn't act like I expected it to. Underwater, when you move it, it's so weird. You gotta experience sand in water. You're in the ocean, and you're not really noticing what it's really doing until you have to move it, or you want it to stay in a place and it doesn't want to stay. And that's one of those things in life. You could work with sand your whole life, mixing cement, and then you go to dirt, a tank, and use sand, and you're like, why is this doing that? I know there's someone out there that's been working with sand their whole life going, this stuff's like dough. It is. You can make a snowball out of wet sand, out of this wet sand. When it's wet, you can make a snowball out of it. And, you know, as I'm dumping each batch of sand that I'm washing in the sink, it's stacking up as little snowballs. So then, you know, you spread them around a little bit, and the air gets trapped in it. And then you start taking I took a chopstick, and you break the air bubbles up so they can come up. And then it's bringing more dust up into the water column. So that you put your water into the tank, and it's clear. And then as you start trying to get rid of the air bubbles, it starts getting worse. So he said, oh, let me put the filter in overnight. And I ran it last night. It looked pretty good. And then this morning I woke up to find that gully down there. The output of the filter is so strong, it can actually move the particles of sand. I think that's it. All right, that's it.